Good day, everybody. Alright, so let's just start off with the posting, expand on that a bit. So the posting goes, this is on my Facebook, feel free to look me up. It is pretty obvious that whatever is being processed subconsciously, and so as I fell into this more and more throughout the day, this felt like assumptions, like people assuming that things are being directed at them when they're not, and even if they were being directed at them, it still isn't like something that would ordinarily elicit any sort of response, yet there does seem to be some intensity in the reaction to people just at this point opening up to their gifts, opening up to deeper levels of who they are, and that part reaching out to express itself, and then that part that is now shining with light and emanating it is triggering other people who have not necessarily tapped into that part of themselves. And although it is not like the magnificent shit show that that wading through these triggers used to be, even 2 or 3 months ago, a month ago, a week ago, it's just about that inner divinity, that inner purity beginning to reassert itself, and we as these sacred children just playing in our divine playground are beginning to remember that. And it's like all the toys that we've had to play with in this playground, they're changing as well, because we in and of ourselves are done with these particular toys. So it's like, you get toys that are designed for a toddler to use, and then that toddler grows up a little bit, so now they're like 2 or 3 years old, and there's different toys that are designed for that age group. And so this is similar to what we're experiencing as a collective at the moment. So we've had all these experiences on Earth as we've known it, and now we're getting more tools to experience it in a different way. Yet at the same time, it's like the Earth itself, herself, is undergoing an upgrade as well. And so we're literally seeing this whole thing unfold before our eyes within ourselves, and so the assumption is based on the fact that we're used to playing under different rules, and those rules don't apply anymore. So there are those that may have had a bossy, authoritative parent or sibling, and so that behavior is coming out because those parts of themselves aren't current with the energy flow as it is amplifying and acting as in these moments. So it's like it's not being present to the actual energetic state of being that we currently exist in, and is continuing to unfold and grow. The revelation of less than love parts within is in process. So going back to what was being said about these heretofore shut down or repressed or otherwise unacknowledged parts of ourselves that are getting that chance to come out. And they don't have to play Clark Kent anymore, they are Superman. And yes, that's what this is ultimately leading to, is us realizing all of our gifts, I do mean all of them, that we would consider to be like superhuman powers, as one example. And this is what we get to tap into, that is helping us recreate this world as our divine playground, heaven on earth, whatever you want to call it. The new earth too. Acknowledge and hold these parts that are coming to wholeness in unity and in grace is in flow. So yeah, we're definitely well supported in this process, and we're definitely amongst ourselves having this beautiful teamwork, even if it just appears that we're just pushing each other's buttons. Yeah, this is helping us see if we're paying attention and walking our talk, and that's key, walking your talk, to allow these parts of ourselves to not only emerge and activate, also allow it to be updated to the present energetics that we are experiencing, and also be present to the totality of all that we are, rather than believing a lie that we're like powerless and all that jazz. That's all done. So this is like a great transition from rags to riches. This is like the Cinderella story, except for the stepmother and the sisters don't get chastised or anything. They actually do get to be held accountable for their actions. It's just done in such a loving way that they grow from seeing how they could have handled situations differently or better, as just as one example. And in fact, the wicked, evil stepmother, quote unquote, and the stepsisters, they also get to live in the castle, because we're all deserving of that level of experience, whatever that may mean to you personally. That's where we get to go. That's where we're going. Okay, so here is the initial decoding. Triggers with non-loving behavior are being cleansed and loved. So this is where we get our freedom from all of the trauma, all of the abuse, all the narcissists, all the sociopaths, all the players in our experience that have treated us unfairly or otherwise acted out of balance and out of connection with love, out of connection with their divinity. And so this does also apply to like the global scale as well, not just our personal journeys and whom we personally interact with. Yeah, so this is where we're done with all that, and the love is flowing and restoring into these deeper parts of ourselves that are coming out to play and have their contribution to make to this world. So this is where where someone like myself, who's undergone a lot of abuse, a lot of trauma on so many levels, and also being aware that me, the fractal of me, the quantum fractal of me that's speaking to you now through this flesh suit, has experienced a wide plethora of things on a multidimensional level. So within my experience here on Earth, that I could describe as another aspect of myself, but I'm not like fully aware of what's going on with that part of me, and so, well, other than what's came up for me throughout my healing journey to address within myself for the collective, and clearing out all sorts of these heinous treatment of children and later on as adults who basically were, through the trauma, created adults who act and behave in sociopathic ways. So this would be like, you may hear about, the ritual abuse that, like actors or politicians or other, highly public figures may have gone through as children. It's a product of all of those rituals, those abuses that I'm talking about here. Those are coming up for clearing and healing. Truly, I am grateful for all those that walk the talk of kindness and gentleness and acceptance, and also those who are vocal about where they will accept no abuse. Both of these play a part in our move forward. So, the bottom line is that although the behaviors expressing a certain point of view may not be so savory, the pure perspective being presented is completely valid. So, I've, over the past couple days, I've seen both ends of the spectrum where it's like, and this is more where, I tend to be, is like, okay, so I'll just point out, or I've seen people point out, okay, so there's this behavior going on my Facebook or in private messages, whatever, and I'm not okay with that, and basically declaring their page, whatever, in a nutshell, that it's like their sacred sanctuary and it's not to be sullied. And on the flip side, there are those who are, completely on that spectrum of unconditional, radical acceptance, and however they choose to deal with that. Oh, that's beautiful. Here's the sunset. However they choose to deal with that, that's not my journey, that's not my circus nor my monkeys, yet it's completely valid as well, and I honor and respect you, and I can only learn from your example so that I can bring that part of myself to balance too, so that, we're able to clearly define what our intentions are for our personal creations, yet accept all of that which builds and bolsters that, no matter where it's coming from or how it shows up. Though the taming of the flared temper is also... I'll start that over again. That was kind of a tongue twister to try and read. So here it is again. The taming of flared temper is also coming into balance. So, for me personally, I will fully admit that there are things that really trigger my temper, and I do lose my shit, and sometimes it's funny as hell. Other times it can be absolutely terrifying to the person that that may be on the receiving end of that. And so, what this means to me personally is that those parts of myself that were... So I was shut down a lot as a child. Despite my brilliance and despite my inventiveness, it just wasn't good enough because I didn't do it the way that my parents thought that I should have to do things. And so, those types of repeated repetitive, repressive guidance coming from those that are charged with the raising and nurturance and guidance of children, that is one aspect of how a temper would be created. And so in coming to resolution with all of this, it's like, since me personally, I'm shifting into working more and more on the quantum levels, I see the quantum fluctuations that are created by these repressed energies. And so the quantum field, instead of looking, structured and kind of like a mirror, like when I look into it and whatever it is that I'm primarily thinking about or feeling about in that moment, that's what is reflected back to me inside the quantum field. This is all like knotted up and twisted, and it's like... So in noticing that and becoming aware of that, I can then focus my intention on my light within and unravel that quantum fluctuation, because I'm focusing on the light and the love rather than hiding some past trauma that is already resolved, already healed, so that how I am personally interacting with and affecting the quantum field around the planet, it becomes more infused with light, with love, as this is also releasing it out of the quantum space of the planet and the collective of humanity. There is great reason for such activity. Repressed things do deserve to be expressed, though hopefully it is with the intent of resolving whatever it is that causes the repressed anger in the first place. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. The only thing that they would like me to add, so I'm talking about my higher self, so that's the only thing that I will channel is just coming from my higher self. And sometimes my guides too, or if there's another being that really wants to speak up, then I relay their messages as well, although I don't speak for them, if that makes sense. I'm just their representative. So it's basically the temper flares up, it shows itself, it expresses itself, and for those that are consciously navigating their own internal landscape, their internal being, and are paying attention to when these things come up and what inside them has erupted in the first place, this is that great opportunity to address that, because there's no more ability to hide that anymore. So it can't just come up and then stuff itself back down and go back into hiding. The ambient energy field at this moment is not supportive of such activity. There is no more hiding. We can't hide, we can't lie to ourselves any longer. There's only transparency and honesty at this point. That is all that is supported, and it is done so in a loving and compassionate and kind way, as we begin to choose to shift into more of our light and love-based experiences, as we release our temper and all those other niggling little things inside our energy fields, inside our body's tissues, that are simply leaving at this time. Okay, so that's it with the posting. And just remember that these times that we are going through, it is ever much so more important to focus on kindness and gentleness and compassion, as well as the love, the honesty, and speaking our truths. In these times, in these moments, it's like we are so becoming saturated with this loving energy that it's not easy to shift out of alignment otherwise. So alignment within our sacred space, within ourselves, with our divinity, that connects then with the source field, that connects with our source. It's becoming ever so much easier to take an honest look at oneself and be like, yeah, you know what? I'm really fucking awesome, and I deserve to have the life that I want to live and experience it on my own terms. And all this stuff that I think about myself that isn't actually true, I can see it for the illusion that it actually is. I can see it for the lie that it actually is, and I can love that too, and release all that surrounds that particular lie and that particular internal space of our internal makeup, wherever or whatever that may be. And so this also comes to the point of the amount of sheer support that we have. I don't share this lightly, and it's just I will just say that I've had experiences over the past months that I could only describe as abstract, and would be indicative of the great amount of support that we have at this time, as well as the kindness and compassion. So it's like, for me, I didn't come here with a soul group or anything like that per se. I'm simply here purely on a mission basis, and So none of my spiritual family that I would consider like my beloved and all of that, they're not on this planet. They're on the ships with our galactic allies or galactic family, cosmic families, all of that. And so I've had moments where I've been able to commune with my family, with those that I hold near and dear to my heart in that way, and that's something that, for me personally, I can only imagine will expand and become more prevalent and obvious in my day-to-day life. And I imagine that so many of you who may be in a similar situation, I would not be surprised your family has already reached out and contacted you, even if you aren't consciously aware of that contact. Though there is a time coming where that level of transparency will be both safe and routinely practiced, routinely experienced. That's it. So with all that said, and following my own internal prompts, I am in the comment section of this, I'm posting a link to my PayPal account. If this values you in any way, what's being said here, I welcome donations, and the intention here is to begin to live my life on my own terms and to be able to go to the places that my service is going to be requested of me in the future. So this is like, my transition into living a more authentic to me lifestyle. I am in process of setting up a Patreon also, and more details on that will be made available as that fleshes out more. I hope you all have a good night. It's certainly been wonderful chatting with you. I will talk to you when I talk to you again next.